I think for years, if you're a PC gamer and you reach for a controller, the controller that you're probably reaching for is some variation of the Xbox controller. That's what I have here with my little wireless dongle. And yeah, it's a really good controller and it works really well out of the box with Windows, but there are a few things about it that I, don't necessarily love. For one thing, having that wireless controller, seems like a really good idea, but for me, I tend to be sitting right here with my computer, so it being wireless really isn't giving me a whole lot of added benefit beside the fact that now I do have to be changing these batteries out from time to time, and it does seem like every time I pick up this controller, the batteries are dead. I don't know if that's like a weird thing going on with me or what, but the batteries just don't seem to last as long as they used to. So with that in mind, we're going to be looking at a brand new controller today from a company called GameSir. I actually reviewed their little controller clamp for phones not that long ago, and this is the GameSir G7. It's only $45 and it's got some really interesting features. So we're going to unbox it, take a look at some of these features, take a look at the app, which actually is going to let you kind of tweak things and dial things in. And yeah, we're going to see if this controller is any good and if it could potentially supplant the tried and true Xbox controller on your PC. Let's jump into that unboxing now. All right, the GameSir G7 wired controller for Xbox. And of course, I'm going to be using this on my PC, but as you can see, you can plug it into your Xbox as well. It includes Game Pass Ultimate for 1 month. So that's actually a pretty cool little benefit there to have. A wired plug and play. There is an audio jack on there, which is nice. Microphone mute button. Detachable 3-meter USB-C cable. So that's pretty cool, but it's actually detachable. Button mapping, sticks, triggers, vibrations. So there's actually this Nexus software that will allow you to go in and kind of map things. So that's actually maybe the thing I'm most excited to take a look at. And you can see some more stuff back there that we won't necessarily jump into. Let's actually unbox the thing now, because these, do I call them off-brand? They're not, the official controllers. They tend to, at least when I was a kid, they always tend to have buttons that just didn't feel nearly as good as the official ones. We would get these, like, cheaper versions of these controllers as, like, a Christmas present or something like that, and we would always kind of be disappointed with them. And I'm really curious to see, GameSir's other stuff I've used has been so solid. How is it going to feel? Is it going to feel like a proper Xbox controller? So there is that 3-meter USB cable. It's actually USB-C, so that's actually really interesting. That's a C cable up top. Very, very cool. Good job, GameSir. And here is the controller itself. Is it smaller? I believe it is a little bit smaller than the official controller, but I can say straight away, this feels pretty good. So it's got this tactile grip here on the back. You actually have 2 programmable buttons on the back, which is kind of unexpected. There's your 3.5mm headphone jack. There's your mute button. And then, of course, you have your bumpers and your triggers. And they are actually, there's a grip texture on these as well that I think you can kind of see there a little bit. They do appear to have that same level of travel as the official controller has. Yeah, it's very, very similar in terms of feel. The sticks feel okay. That's a place where, a lot of the time the sticks are a problem. Well, they seem okay here. They click. The buttons are a totally different feel to the official controller, though. So the official controller just kind of bottoms out, and there's really not much in terms of tactility. This one has a click to it. Honestly, okay, so just in terms of how the controller itself feels, I think it feels actually very good. I like the grips on it, and I think that just, the overall build quality, this does not feel like an off-brand, knockoff sort of controller. And then, of course, you can see that USB-C port up there at the top. And now inside this box is actually something fairly interesting as well, because, as you can see here, that is a faceplate. And the reason for that is because these faceplates are evidently replaceable. I think it's just magnetic. I think I can just basically, yeah, it just pops off. Wow, look at that. It just comes straight off. So then what you can do is you can buy different colored faceplates, which they're going to be making, faceplates of different designs and so forth on them. Now I got a white controller. How about that? You could also take this faceplate off and paint it. Apparently is something that they want you to be doing. And then you could totally change the look of this controller. And you saw how easy that was to replace. That is pretty slick. And that now looks pretty cool. So now that we've kind of unboxed the thing, I think the next thing I need to do is I need to take a look at their GameSir Nexus software, which you can see has a whopping 2 reviews in the Microsoft Store. Maybe we'll be review number 3, but apparently this is how you can go in and fully map your controller, which is a really, really novel idea for a controller like this, as far as I'm concerned. This isn't something that you're doing on your standard Xbox controller. Being able to map these things, but sticks, triggers, vibration, what will this mean? Let's open the store. Okay, so we plugged in the controller. We got a nice little LED light popping up there, and here we are at our menu. So let's see what we can do here. Profiles, vibrates, and updates. A little bit strange phrasing there. So profiles, I'm assuming you can have up to 3 different profiles with mappings and hopefully sensitivities and things like that. So that is cool. Let's go down to vibrates, and the controller just vibrated. So that's odd. I guess I can use that just to test the vibration going on. And I will tell you this. It does feel relatively strong, although I do feel like I'm feeling the vibration more on the right side of the controller than the left. We'll have to see how that feels in game, but that is a little bit odd. And then updates, I guess there is a way to update the firmware, and there is a firmware update, so I suppose we should go ahead and let that install before we proceed. Okay, so we have our firmware updated now. Let's see if I can go back, and I guess we have to go into the profiles and configure one in order to actually do anything. All right, mappings. So I think I can literally go in. Yeah, I can make any button be just about any other button, which is definitely odd, but I guess for certain games that might make some sense to you. Let's go over to sticks. Okay, this is very, very cool. So swap left stick and D-pad. That's an interesting idea. D-pad diagonal lock. And it looks like here, I'm kind of cutting things off a bit by having this windowed, but I think this is my dead zone. It is. So you can actually customize your dead zone as well as the range. That could be very beneficial in certain games. What about the triggers? So you can actually see that, yes, this thing is, you can actuate this to the degree that you want to. You can also just make it a hair trigger so that it's all or nothing. I mean, the tiniest little amount of press is triggering that at that point, which is very, very sensitive. And then you can also dial in, I guess, your initial, so like more like a dead zone as well. Yeah, look at that. Now I'm pressing it down quite far before it's actuating, as well as its maximum. So this is very, very customizable. What about the vibration? Okay, this is very cool. So whenever I'm hitting my left trigger, the controller is vibrating, but you can also change it so that the harder you press, the harder it vibrates, which I think that is awesome. And you can change how strong that vibration is. And the vibration is happening depending on what side it is. So this only vibrates on this side and vice versa. All right, I guess what we have to do now is have to load up a game and see how this actually feels in a game. All right, so we've just loaded into Rocket League here, one of my favorite games. We're going to play against some AI characters, and yeah, that just seems like that would be fair instead of having to play with a real person while I'm just testing things out. And I can tell you one thing, the vibration motor as I'm driving here feels very, very strong. And the fact that it's only on one side, depending on what trigger I'm hitting, is pretty interesting. It whiffed on that pretty good. The controller does, I really think it is smaller than the official controller, but it's not like a huge problem for me. Like, it actually feels quite comfortable. Boy, I'm rusty. If anything, I think the vibration might be a little too strong. The grippiness is nice, though, although I do wonder if, you know, people that maybe perspire a little bit might have trouble with it. That's a perfect setup, Bandit. Come on. Oh, yeah, I think I actually need to dial the vibration down a little bit. I think it's too strong. Let's turn off the force trigger vibration so that the harder you press it, the more it vibrates. Maybe that's a problem. Okay, so when I turn that off in Rocket League, it's just now not vibrating at all on those presses, which is probably the default settings. That was probably making it do something that Rocket League typically doesn't do. So I don't know who that setting was necessarily for, unless you don't use your triggers much. Otherwise, you're going to be feeling vibration just constantly. There it is, Bandit! Bandit! Yes! Actually, I forgot to point this out. This is pretty cool. So you see this M button here, and then these there's little icons on your D-pad. This changes the volume of your headset that you can plug into the bottom, and also can alter game audio versus chat audio. So there's like a balancing feature there right on the controller, which I think is actually quite smart. So I've now played a little bit with it here in Rocket League, and I think that I can say pretty confidently that it passes the test of, does this feel like an off-brand controller or not? No, it does not. This feels like a very nice, a very premium controller. And honestly, considering the fact that I don't have to worry about batteries on it, as little as I use my controller, I think this is the one that's going to stay in this room. I can just grab this thing and quickly plug it in. I always have a USB-C cable sitting right here in front of me already. I can just plug the thing in and play the game. It does genuinely feel just as good as my Xbox controller, my official Xbox controller does. And then when you factor in the way it looks, which I think just with the white faceplate already looks pretty cool. But I mean, heck, maybe I can go get some spray paint, maybe color this thing whatever I want it to be, and pop it back on. That's pretty nifty. Of course, like I said, this will work being plugged directly into an Xbox or your PC. I do like the fact that you get that month of Game Pass Ultimate there as well. So Game Pass streaming, that's going to work just as well. Guys, for $45, I think it's a pretty solid controller if you don't care about being wireless, and these added features seem like they make sense for your use. I will have an affiliate link in the description down below. Big shout out to GameSir for sending this thing out to me to test. They, as usual, are seeing this video at the exact same time that you are. Guys, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on more. I'll see you on the next one, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friend.